In this video, I'd like to talk about planar navigation. What we are looking at is my favorite context, C G flat context, with its C major scale spelled in thirds, and the G flat major scale spelled in thirds, and also the dominant chord G7, G, B, D, F, E7, E, A flat, B, D, D flat 7, D flat, F, A flat, B, and B flat 7, B flat, D, F, A flat. You'll see that those chords, they are spelled naturally in the context, are important in the overall structure of the model. Now, in order to propagate notes in a 2D space, what we can do is to complete the diminished scale being started on the periphery of the context. Let's do that. And we see that we get the whole diminished scale here, 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 and we can create a new context right there. We can see that there is a space where we could add another context, so let's do that. The result is a E flat A context. This is done by note sharing. We are sharing all the notes on the periphery of the context while preserving the intervallic structure of the context. And that naturally gives us an E flat A context. So this is really interesting because here is the G, B flat, D flat, E diminished scale that includes all the roots of dominant chords that relates to C and G flat and that are spelled within that context, but they also now are spelled within the E flat context as well. G can be spelled in this direction inside the C G flat context, G, B, D, F, but it's also spelled G, B, D, F within that E flat context. And it's the same for B flat 7, D flat 7, and E 7. E being E, A flat, B, D. Now we've seen how by sharing notes on a periphery of the context, we obtain a different context, and we populated the plane in that way. Now let's try to populate the 3D space by sharing notes this time on those faces of the context C G flat. And in doing so, we obtain a F B context, sharing those 4 notes, generating naturally a new context F B by preserving the intervallic structure of that context. Now we can do the same on the other side of the C G flat context, and we'll get, sharing those notes this time, a new F B context. Now remember how the contexts, the C G flat contexts, could propagate in a plane, and similarly the F B context is now, by completing the diminished scale, is populating the plane underneath the C G flat context. One thing that is noticeable here is that a C, E, G, B major 7 chord can be altered to point towards the F major scale, C, E, G, B flat. And again, this is because from a G the model provides a way to go down a minor third, up a minor third, or up a major third, or down a major third. Now we can populate the 3D space towards the upper plane, and by sharing B, D, G flat, E flat, this time we are creating a new G, D flat context. Again, by completing the D, F, A flat, B diminished scale, we can see how this new plane now can be populated. So the model displays an interesting property is that it really spells out the 4-5-1 relationship. Another thing is that if you consider this diminished scale, which was the center of 4 key signatures in this plane, the G, D flat, B flat, E plane, those 4 roots can also become 4 dominant chords via those major thirds pointing towards the plane below, the C, G flat, A, E flat plane. Certainly the most interesting feature in the model is that it could be implemented to represent and manipulate chords in space. And for example, one way to represent a cycle of fifth can be done this way. This is cycle of fifth of contexts in space. Going from a G to a G, and we have so we are going from G to C down to an F, a B flat, an E flat, an A flat, a D flat, G flat, from G flat to B, to E, to A, to D, and back to G. And this is one way of representing a cycle of fifth in space. And it is important because that motion of cycle of fifth is easily recognizable and therefore carry with its visual representation a meaning, a sort of symbolism that can be easily recognized and therefore can have just as much relevance as a pie chart in finance.